Well, hey, this is Rhonda Simmons, and welcome to another edition of Empowered Heart to Heart. And I am the founder and CEO of the Simmons Empowerment Foundation, and I am so excited to be with you on another edition of Empowered Heart to Heart. I'm excited today because we have a special guest. I have met some of the best people this side of heaven, let me tell you. And today is no exception. And I'm really excited. And I'll tell you why towards the end of the broadcast, and how I was able to meet this particular guest, and how you'll have an opportunity to meet her again, even after this episode. And so, without any further ado, I would love to introduce you to my guest, Miss Lydia Klemensowicz, who's from Vancouver, Canada. Woo woo! I got an international
Woo-hoo.
guest on my show. I'm so excited. And this is great, Lydia, because our podcast has gone global. We have people listening all around the world, and I'm so excited about that. And if you're listening to us right now, make sure you bookmark our podcast as well as like, comment, or share this video. Lydia, welcome to the show.
Wow. Thank you so much, Rhonda. What an introduction. And I love that phrase on this side of heaven. That just made me light up from the inside out. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. We're just so glad that you're here with us, and that there's no space, in our connection, even though you're in a totally different country. This is fantastic. I'm excited that you're here with us tonight.
Same here.
Yeah. So tell us, Lydia, uh, you shared with me that you are a love, relationship, and breakup coach. I'm going to repeat that for our listeners and our viewers. You said you are a love, relationship, and breakup coach. I've got to hear the story. How did you arrive at that?
Definitely. Yeah. So, my mission in life is to help people heal from heartbreak, let go of their exes, and attract the love and life that they deserve. And I really came to this work. I think I've always been drawn to relationships and relationship building in my life. They've always been a central foundation for me. And, of course, in my adult life, I've entered into romantic relationships, and that's added and enhanced my life in many ways. It's also taught me so much. And when I was in a longer term relationship for over a year, for the first time with somebody who I really could see myself marrying at the end of the day, like I felt that strong feeling. However, the relationship itself was one of the most unhealthy relationships, and I felt very disrespected and unappreciated. And it really brought up a lot of old triggers for me, old wounds that I realized I hadn't quite healed yet. And I realized that we just were fundamentally also incompatible. And so I ended up walking away from that person and gaining the courage to do that, even when I still loved them and wanted so badly to continue to make it work. But it hit a point where if I'd continued to try to make it work longer, I would have just suffered longer. And so I just took the courage, walked away, went through my healing journey. And at the same time that that was happening, I was getting certified as a coach. And I didn't yet know who I specifically wanted to help, but I had read so much about relationships and attachment styles. And so once I kind of got over the hump of my heartbreak and used all of these different tools that I had learned in my coaching program, I also entered into a relationship coaching program a couple of years ago. And so I had all these tools and skills and knowledge under my belt. And I felt like I really handled my healing journey with a lot of love and grace and reverence. And I had a download one night that, oh my gosh, I want to help people who are experiencing this because it is extremely painful and you do feel a lot of isolation in it. However, I truly believe that our breakups, our heartbreak, while they are one of the most painful experiences that we go through, are a portal for something even greater. And I just love to plant that seed of hope in the people that I work with.
Wow, wow, that is amazing. I applaud you for being able to not just process your pain, but to use it as a strength and help someone else. That is amazing. A lot of people don't reach that level of healing. There was a phrase you kept using about your healing journey, and that tells me that it didn't happen overnight, that indeed it was a process. So I applaud you for being able to turn your pain into power. That's wonderful. That is wonderful. Um, and so here you are now helping people uh, get over, and not just get over, but to learn. It sounds like you learned a lot about yourself too.
Definitely. Yeah. A lot of my work is helping you learn how to be a better lover, how to be a better dater. These aren't necessarily skills that we're born with. I think we're all born with the capacity to love deeply.
Mhm.
However, certain communication skills and skills of connection, and even the skill of understanding yourself and what that looks like and what that means, and then how it comes to play in a relationship with another human being, that's a whole different world in of itself. And I certainly learned a lot about my own patterns and my own beliefs and had to do the work to transform that. So I'm really passionate about helping people rewire those unconscious blocks and patterns, because those will keep appearing if you're only scratching the surface in your healing journey. And surface things are fun, like if you I'm a big fan of taking a bubble bath, and if that's going to soothe you and make you feel better, but that's not going to actually support you in the long term when it comes to attracting healthy love.
Yes, healthy love. I like that.
Yes.
Wow. It is so important that you were able to recognize the triggers that you experienced in that last relationship that you mentioned, because a lot of times we ignore the triggers. We try to react or deal with the reactions, but we don't dig deep enough to get to the triggers. And so you did some serious work on your own. That's powerful. So,
Hmm.
in your practice, do you find you work with more women than men, or a good mix of both?
That's a good question. So I work and attract mostly women. However, I do work with some men, not as long, but I've had men come to my workshops. I've had one-off coaching sessions with men too. And I thought for the longest time that I was just going to focus on women, but then so many people in my networks were asking me, what about men? And as I learned from this past relationship too, men need that support as well, and they need that help. And I think they process things slightly differently, but it still requires a lot of the same tools and work at the end of the day. And so I started to say I help men too, and this is an open door for you if you want to be supported in this process. I feel like I offer a lot of empathy to my clients, and I think at the end of the day that's um, the greatest entry point to what magnetizes me to people.
Wow, that's amazing. And speaking of magnetizing you to people, how do you find your clients?
Oh yeah, so it's a balance of many different things, and at the core of everything is consistency. So anything I mention, I'm repeatedly, consistently working on all of these areas. The first way that I tend to meet people or build new relationships is through workshops. So I host a number of different workshops across Vancouver with various businesses, whether it's a metaphysical store or a yoga studio. And I've created my signature Healing After Heartbreak workshop, which is around 2 hours. And it's really powerful. It's meant to help people gain insights and guidance and support, but also walk away feeling more empowered. And I offer an invitation to work with me deeper after that, but I still aim to serve you in that workshop, regardless if you continue to do the work with me after. Those workshops have been so beautiful and powerful, I have to say, because I facilitate an environment where people can feel comfortable to be vulnerable and to share. And sometimes there's a lot of tears involved, but there is so much love and support because everybody who is there is going through heartbreak. And so there's just like a lot of camaraderie in that. So that's one way that I tend to just build connections. Another way is by talking on podcasts, by getting articles published, just by expanding to different networks. And then, of course, talking to the people in my communities and in my personal networks. Even though the people in closest proximity to me, a lot of people don't necessarily need help with heartbreak. It still plants the seeds in their life where they might know somebody who knows somebody or whatever. And maybe down the line, they're going through a breakup and they think, oh, you should talk to Lydia. And I think I just always have that in my back pocket is like, I'm planting seeds and I love talking about what I do. And I'm just very passionate about sharing that with people.
Wow, that is amazing. That is amazing. So in your line of work, when you meet a new client who's just been through a breakup, or maybe it hasn't been, something recent, is there an average length of time that you see amongst your clients um, where they're still grieving over the person they lost?
Oh, that's a good question. You know what? There's not an average length of time. It varies so much. Like I worked with a client who she she's in her 40s, I believe, and has dated many people, has been in a lot of relationships, but we realized during our work together that she was still heartbroken out over somebody from 20 years ago, even though she had dated and been with many people since then. But sometimes there's something still tying us and attaching us to a specific person and at that moment in time. And then I work with clients who it hasn't necessarily been a breakup from a relationship per se, but they've just experienced heartbreak after heartbreak in their dating life and haven't achieved the results that they truly desire. And so they're just kind of stuck, they're over it, and they want something to change. And so I see kind of the breadth of everything and everything in between.
Wow, that is amazing. Because we both have met people. I don't do the type of coaching you do, but I'm sure just even in our personal lives, we've met people who are at both ends of the spectrum. You break up with them, they cry hard but not long, and then they're moving on. And then
Yeah.
others that just, grieve. I remember working with a teacher years ago who had been through something, and she was just talking about it one day and talking about it and talking about it, um and someone asked her, well, when did this happen? And she said 20 years ago. But the way she was talking about it, it was as if it happened that morning. And that's when I first learned that word, rumination, where you're
Mm.
constantly reliving it in your mind, even though it's actually over, and how limiting and binding that can be. So,
Yeah, so in my I'm glad that you touched on that because in my workshops, I go over kind of the three main obstacles that keep people from moving on from a breakup or heartbreak, and rumination and overthinking is one of them. So you just touched right on it. It's replaying the
oh
same
wow,
story in our head. It's going down the rabbit hole of what ifs and I should have done that or they should have done that. And you're just like replaying it, except you're adding a different narrative every single time, but you're living in that story all the time. And it just keeps people stuck.
yes, yes, it does. When I was growing up, there was a series of books, and I can't remember the name of the books. They were fiction books, but in the story, you would read a couple of chapters in, just long enough for the author to set up the main characters and the plot and everything, and then right when you're like just on the edge of your seat, then it comes to a drastic halt where the reader has to decide which direction the main character should take. The main character is faced with a choice. And so the reader usually had two choices. And if the main character chose uh, choice A, then you go to page so and so and start reading there, or B, you go to this other page. And so you could literally reread this book over and over and over again. And I loved it, but I never forgot that. And it just came back to my mind when you started talking about how we just keep um, going through this cycle, just over and over, and it's never ending. And that can't be healthy, not when it comes to our hearts and relationships.
That sounds like such an interesting book and layout, and it kind of
Yes.
reminds me of also the possibilities for your future when you do move on. Like, you get to decide, is it
Hmm.
A? Is it B? Is it C? And you've just opened up a whole new chapter. And that's incredibly exciting too. And I take my clients through that journey as well. You know, once you're kind of moving through the various stages and you're creeping up on the stage of kind of acceptance and peace, then it's so exciting because the possibilities are endless. You could enter into a new career. Some people go back to school and study something different. Some people end up actually meeting the love of their life, who's a way better match for them. Some people travel the world. So it's amazing what can happen when you do step into that new version and that new chapter of you. And it's really your choice.
Hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Lydia, if you could give your younger self some advice, what would it be?
Hmm. I would tell her that she doesn't need the validation from other people to know her worth, to know her power, that she holds so much wisdom and love within her, and she can do anything she sets her mind to, that she is so loved, and that she doesn't need to prove herself or continue to bend over backwards for people, and that she she's going to create so many healthy relationships in her future of people who want to be around her and want to support her. Because I think I was really insecure when I was younger, and I doubted the relationships around me. I doubted if people really wanted to spend time with me, and doubted if there would be any romantic interest in me. And I think that's so relatable. I think a lot of us go through those stages in our life. And what I realized is I had to love myself a whole lot more. And so I would just go back and tell her, like, girl, look inside. It's beautiful to feel love with other people, but you can access that within yourself.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I tell you, um, you haven't lived until you've said this one statement. Oh, if I knew then what I know now.
Mm-hmm.
That's the statement that we make so often, because we learn through the things that we experience. It's not the only method of learning, but that is one way that we learn. And I just think back to things I could have avoided, and hurts and pain that I could have avoided. But we're here now. And I
Mm-hmm.
love how, like I said in the beginning, I love how you have turned your pain into power. So I have a question. When people leave your sessions, um, how how do they feel, or how does that change their relationship outlook going forward?
Often the words that I get, because I ask everybody at the end of all of my workshops, I say, if you could describe how you feel now in one word or a phrase, like, what would it be? And common words that I hear are optimistic, which is beautiful, especially if they come in kind of at their wits' end crying and to leave feeling optimistic. Holy cow, that's beautiful. They leave feeling calm, because some participants might come feeling very anxious and scared of what they're going to encounter in that workshop, perhaps what's going to come up. But then at the end of it, they feel really calm and relaxed. Some feel very supported and grateful, and other people report to feel really in tune with themselves, which is beautiful because often, too, during a breakup and in the wrong relationships, we can really lose our sense of self. And so, if I can help them come back to themselves and the wisdom within, then that's the greatest gift that I can offer.
Yes, yes, yes. There was one question I was thinking of that, you know how you go through relationships and good, bad, right or wrong, indifferent, they they have an effect on you. They leave an impact on your life, and in many ways they change you. And I have found that sometimes even your confidence is shaken. How do people get their confidence back?
Mm, yeah, good question. I think confidence is it's a constant journey. I don't know if there's any full 100% destination. I think it ebbs and flows, but when it comes to gaining confidence back after a breakup, one of the things that's helped me and helps a lot of my clients is investing time and energy into something that you're really passionate about and something that you want to grow in. So for me, I'm also a Latin dancer. So I'm on a Latin dance team. Yeah, I take
Oh,
Latin
look
dance
at you.
classes. Yeah.
Mhm.
We performed actually 3 times this past weekend in Vancouver. So I'm still
Oh,
going off
wow.
of the high of that. And I
Yes,
started taking Latin dance classes in my relationship. And then I went more full out after my breakup because I loved the way it made me feel. And I was getting better too. And I think if you can find your equivalent of Latin dancing, whatever that is for you, then that will increase your confidence because not only are you good at it, you love the way it makes you feel, and then you're around a community of like minded people who are cheering you on.
yes, yes, yes. So how important is having your own tribe, your own support team? How important is that um, when it comes to finding yourself and creating a relationship with someone else?
Oh, it's everything. It's so important. And I think it's a really easy thing to do. And this isn't to judge or shame. If you need some alone time, of course, like honor that. And that's equally important. But we tend to want to shut the curtains and isolate for a long time if we're going through a really hard period. And the people that love you, they want to be there for you. And it's so touching and very vulnerable, but so powerful when you can reach out to your support networks and say, I'm going through this difficult time and I just need to be around you. And I was somebody who was hyper independent. And, I still have an independent side to me, but for the longest time, I kind of had this energy about me that, oh, I can do anything on my own. Like, I don't need anybody else. I kind of had this feeling that I was always there for other people, but I never gave other people a chance to be there for me. And it was just a practice of being vulnerable and reaching out. And in my last breakup, I reached out to so many friends, and I couldn't have gone through it without them. Friends, family, communities that I'm a part of here in Vancouver, and it was just so heartwarming for how people showed up to me and just so authentically and without hesitation.
That's wonderful. That's
Mhm.
empowering. And so, Lydia, we've talked about rumination, we've talked about confidence, we've talked about the power of having your own tribe. I want to talk about one other thing. Where does forgiveness fit into all of this?
Ooh, Rhonda, I just you say the word forgiveness and I get like full body chills because I am a firm believer in forgiveness and how forgiveness heals the world. It heals ourselves, it heals our relationships, it heals the world. And forgiveness, I think, is often mistaken or misinterpreted. And I think a lot of people think forgiveness is justifying someone's behavior, where it's not taking away from what happened, because what happened can't be changed if it's in the past, because oftentimes we're holding on to resentment because of something that happened in the past. And forgiveness is acknowledging exactly that, that what happened can't be changed, that we're all human beings going through a human experience, and we have all failed and made mistakes and hurt people in our lives, but that doesn't make us less deserving of love and acceptance and forgiveness. And to see that shred of compassion in another person, as if you're looking at yourself and your inner child. And forgiveness is accepting that you're ready for something different, and it doesn't mean you have to tell that person you forgive them. Sure, there's some moments that you might have that conversation depending on the context or the relationship, but it could just mean forgiveness inside your heart. So for me, after my breakup, I wrote a forgiveness letter to my ex. I didn't send it, I just wrote it in my journal for me. After I processed all my sadness and my anger, I just wrote, I forgive you. And then every time I started to think about him and start to creep into maybe some thoughts of rumination or overthinking, I would put my hand on my heart and send him love. And that was me forgiving, like, in the moment. And it would always make me feel so much better. And then the people around me feel better. It just has a ripple effect.
Yes, yes, it does. Yes, it does. That is so good to hear. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I told you that I had a surprise about how Lydia and I are connected. Well, the good news is, I hope you're listening. Don't turn this off yet. The good news is that Lydia is one of our speakers at our upcoming Dear Future Me Women's Empowerment International Summit, August 18th and the 19th. Woohoo! Way to go, Lydia. And the best part about it is virtual. So don't tell me you cannot attend, people. Yes, somewhere around this video or in the description of our podcast will be the link to the summit. You've got to be there because Lydia is going to be sharing some things. In fact, she is a VIP speaker, so you want to be in the room. And so make
Mhm.
sure that you are there in our virtual summit, not December, August 18th and 19th. That's our Dear Future Me Women's Empowerment International Summit. I am so excited. So, Lydia, can you give us a little bit of taste of what we can expect from you at the summit? You don't have to tell us everything, but just give us enough to say, you know what, I'm getting my VIP pass so I can be in the room with you. Go ahead.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm so excited about it. So, I'm a speaker in the category of self care. And a part of the work that I do in the world and with my clients is around energy healing and how we can energetically heal ourselves and our hearts. So, I will be giving practical insights and guidance on how you can tap into the power of your own energy to rebalance and recenter your energy so that you can be a magnet to anything that you desire in life.
Wow, that is wonderful. That is fantastic. That reminds me of the concept of law of attraction. And so
Yes.
I'm super duper excited. I cannot wait. I know I'm the host, so I get to be there for the whole thing. I'm not going to miss it. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't need to miss it. Lydia, you have been a wonderful guest today, and I'm just so glad that we have met and that we have this opportunity to just chit chat here on Empowered Heart to Heart. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rhonda. You have such a beautiful heart, and I'm just so excited to be in this community with you and to be running this amazing summit.
Yes, absolutely. And so, Lydia, if you will just uh, sit tight just for a minute, I'm going to wrap up our podcast and just talk to our audience just for a minute, and I'll be right back. Okay?
Sure. Yeah, so everybody, please book your tickets. It's going to be amazing. We have so many great guests and speakers, and I really hope that you can come. You'll take something away from it, whether it's for your personal or your professional life. And really, the goal is to have you walk away feeling more empowered than you started.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks again, Lydia, for being on the show. I appreciate it today.
Thank you, Rhonda. Bye, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am so thrilled that Lydia is going to be a part of our summit. As you can see, her heart is so open and she has a heart for people and trying to help people. Let me just share with you about the summit. Yes, we could have created a themed summit so that everything's centered around just one theme. But here's what I know about us women: we are multi layered like an onion. We can be successful in one area of our life or in many areas of our lives, but still struggling in one area. So this summit has something for everyone. Uh, Our 18, yes, 18 international speakers will be presenting workshops from 5 different domains. I guess you can see the thumb. There you go. 5 different domains: self care, um, self care. I just blanked out. Self care, women's financial wellness, and aligning your career with your values, overcoming trauma, and executing the vision for your life. So, whichever category resonates with you the most, you need to be in the room. Yes, you do. And you want to get the VIP pass. And here's why: the VIP pass will give you access to Lydia and all of the other speakers in like an after party, a virtual after party that we're going to have after the last day of the summit on the 19th. The VIP pass also gives you free giveaways that the summit speakers have created. So you want to get the VIP pass. There are so many more things that come with it. We have a few free tickets left, but where the magic is happening and where the most value is with the VIP pass, because you'll have access not only to the speakers in the moment, but you'll even have access to the full summit on replay. And so make sure you click the link below and you get your ticket today. I want to thank you for being a part of our journey today here on Empowered Heart to Heart, because you will always hear messages of hope, conversations that heal, and interviews that empower. So until the next time, be blessed, be encouraged, but most of all, be empowered. I'll see you next time.